The underestimated engineer. The Nexus station hung in the void like a metallic flower, its 8 massive petals stretching toward distant stars. Each section housed a different species, creating a symphony of alien cultures that had coexisted for over 3 centuries. Today, however, the harmony was about to shatter. Dr. Sarah Chen walked through the main diplomatic corridor, her footsteps silent on the polished floor. Unlike the towering Vorthek warriors with their crimson armor and battle scars, or the ethereal Therians floating in their biomechanical suits, Sarah appeared unremarkable. Average height, dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing a plain gray jumpsuit with the Earth Federation insignia barely visible on her shoulder. The other delegates barely glanced at her as she passed. To them, humans were the newcomers, the species that had stumbled into galactic politics only 50 years ago. Earth had no grand fleets, no conquered worlds, no fearsome reputation. They were engineers, miners, diplomats seeking trade agreements and mutual cooperation. Boring, harmless. Sarah's brown eyes took in everything as she entered the Grand Assembly Hall. The massive chamber could hold representatives from 47 different species, though today only 12 were present. The Vorthek delegation dominated the center of the room, their bulk and aggressive postures making even the largest Therians seem delicate by comparison. Admiral Krex, the Vorthek fleet commander, was addressing the assembly. His voice boomed through translator arrays, each word dripping with barely contained violence. His species had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade, absorbing smaller civilizations into their growing empire. The mining rights to the Kepler Nebula belong to the strong, Krex declared, his 4 arms spread wide in a gesture of dominance. The Vorthek Empire claims these resources by right of superior force. Any who oppose us will face the consequences. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Kepler Nebula contained rare elements crucial for faster-than-light travel, but it was also home to 3 human colonies totaling nearly 2 million people. Sarah remained perfectly still, her hands folded calmly in her lap. Ambassador Zeal of the Therian Collective spoke next, her melodious voice carrying undertones of concern. Admiral Krex, the human settlements have existed in that region for 30 years. Surely there can be a peaceful resolution that benefits all parties. Krex's laugh was like grinding metal. The humans? He turned his attention to Sarah for the first time, his predatory gaze assessing her like a hunter examining wounded prey. What could these soft creatures possibly offer? They have no fleet worth mentioning, no weapons that could threaten a Vorthek frigate, let alone our battle cruisers. Sarah finally spoke, her voice quiet but clear. We prefer cooperation to conflict, Admiral. Perhaps we could discuss a mining partnership that would benefit both our peoples. The chamber fell silent for a moment, then erupted in laughter from the Vorthek delegation. Even some of the other species smiled at what they perceived as naive human optimism. Krex stepped closer to Sarah, his massive form casting a shadow over her seated figure. Partnership. You speak of partnership when you have nothing to offer but weakness. His voice dropped to a menacing whisper that still carried through the chamber's acoustics. In 3 days, the Vorthek Third Fleet will arrive at Kepler Station. Your colonists will evacuate or be removed. Choose wisely, little human. Sarah looked up at the towering alien, her expression unchanged. And if we refuse, then you will learn why the galaxy fears the Vorthek name. Krex's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among his species. Your peaceful ships, your mining platforms, your defenseless colonies, all will burn. The universe belongs to the strong, not to the meek. The Admiral turned and strode from the chamber, his entourage following like a crimson tide. The remaining delegates began discussing evacuation procedures and refugee assistance, assuming the humans would yield as so many others had before them. Sarah remained seated, seemingly lost in thought. Ambassador Zeal approached her, genuine concern in her crystalline features. Dr. Chen, I am sorry. The Therian Collective will offer sanctuary to your people, but we cannot risk open war with the Vorthek. Thank you for your kindness, Sarah replied softly. But that won't be necessary. Zeal's bioluminescent patches flickered in confusion. Surely you don't intend to fight. The Vorthak have 300 warships in that fleet alone. Your entire space force consists of cargo haulers and mining vessels. Sarah's lips curved in the faintest of smiles. Appearances can be deceiving, Ambassador. 48 hours later, the Vorthak Third Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. 312 warships arranged in perfect battle formation, their hull markings telling the story of countless victories. The fleet represented enough firepower to glass a planet's surface or crack a moon in half. Admiral Krex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, studying tactical displays showing the human positions. 3 orbital mining platforms, a modest space station, and perhaps 24 civilian vessels scattered throughout the system. It would be over in minutes. Signal the human station, Krex commanded. Give them one final chance to surrender. The response came from Dr. Sarah Chen herself, her image appearing on the main screen with that same calm expression she had worn during their first meeting. Behind her, the space station's command center looked like any ordinary civilian facility. Admiral Krex, she said simply, have you reconsidered our offer of partnership? Krex's laughter shook the bridge. You still speak of negotiation. Look around you, human. 300 warships against your handful of mining equipment. Surrender now, and I may allow your people to live as slaves. I'm afraid I must decline, Sarah replied. However, I want you to know that you were warned. What happens next is your choice, not ours. The transmission ended. Krex stared at the blank screen for a moment, then shook his massive head. Human stupidity never ceased to amaze him. All ships, commence attack. Destroy their platforms first, then sweep up the stragglers. The Vorthak fleet surged forward, weapon systems charging with deadly energy. But as they closed to optimal firing range, something unexpected happened. The human mining platforms began to unfold. What had appeared to be simple industrial structures revealed themselves as something far more sophisticated. Armor plating slid away to expose massive weapon emplacements. Sensor arrays extended like metal flowers blooming in the void. Most shocking of all, each platform began broadcasting military-grade targeting data to every human vessel in the system. What in the 7 hells? Krex snarled as his sensors registered the energy readings pouring from the defenseless human positions. The mining ships were transforming too. Cargo bays opened to reveal launch tubes for fighters that shouldn't exist. Industrial equipment retracted into hidden compartments as advanced shield generators hummed to life. The modest civilian vessels suddenly sported weapon signatures that made even veteran Vorthak commanders nervous. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. Sarah's voice echoed across all frequencies, no longer the quiet diplomatic tone from their previous encounters. Now it carried the authority of someone who had planned for this moment for years. All human vessels, this is Command Authority Chen. Protocol 7 is now active. Show them what happens when you underestimate an engineer. Space around the Kepler system suddenly filled with new contacts. Ships that had been hiding in the asteroid belt, cloaked vessels that materialized from empty vacuum, and sleek fighters pouring from concealed launch bays on what appeared to be solid rocks. The humans hadn't built a handful of mining ships, they had constructed an entire hidden fleet. Admiral Krex's tactical display lit up like a festival as dozens, then hundreds of new contacts appeared. Each human vessel was smaller than his warships, but moved with a precision and coordination that spoke of advanced artificial intelligence and years of careful planning. Impossible, he whispered. Our intelligence reports said they had no military capability. On Kepler Station, Sarah watched the tactical displays with quiet satisfaction. For 30 years, human engineers had been preparing for this day. Every mining platform was a disguised fortress. Every cargo hauler carried hidden weapons. Every civilian installation was part of a vast defensive network that stretched across human space. The Vorthak had made the same mistake that every aggressive species eventually made. They assumed that peaceful meant weak. They never considered that a species capable of taming hostile worlds and building cities in the void might also be capable of defending themselves when pushed too far. Fire, Sarah said quietly. The space around the Kepler system erupted in light. The fleet's demise. The first volley from the human fleet struck the Vorthak formation like a hammer blow from an unseen god. Precision plasma bursts, guided by artificial intelligence that calculated trajectories faster than organic minds could follow, found gaps in armor that shouldn't have existed. Vorthak shields, designed to withstand conventional weapons, buckled under the assault of weapons that bent the laws of physics. Admiral Krex watched in growing horror as his forward destroyers simply ceased. No explosions, no dramatic death throes, just empty space where proud warships had been moments before. The human weapons didn't just destroy the unmade, breaking down matter at the molecular level and scattering it to the solar winds. Return fire. Krex roared, his 4 arms working frantically at the tactical console. All batteries, maximum yield. The Vorthak fleet unleashed its fury, thousands of energy beams and missiles streaking toward the human positions. But something was wrong. Their targeting systems couldn't maintain locks on the human vessels. The enemy ships seemed to phase in and out of existence, solid one moment and translucent the next. Captain Marcus Torres, commanding the human heavy cruiser Indomitable, smiled grimly as Vorthak weapons passed harmlessly through his ship's phase-shifted hull. 30 years of human ingenuity had produced technologies that the galaxy had never seen. Weapons that attacked matter itself, shields that shifted objects partially out of normal space, and artificial intelligences that learned and adapted faster than any biological mind. Target the Vorthak flagship, Torres ordered. Dr. Chen wants to make a statement. Meanwhile, on Kepler Station, Sarah stood before a holographic display showing the entire battle in real time. What looked like chaos to organic observers was actually a carefully orchestrated symphony of destruction. Every human ship moved according to predetermined patterns, their actions coordinated by quantum communication networks that operated faster than light itself. Ambassador Zeal's voice crackled through the communication array, transmitted from the Nexus station light years away. Dr. Chen, what have you done? Our sensors are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. This was supposed to be a mining colony. It is a mining colony, Sarah replied calmly, never taking her eyes from the tactical display. We just happen to be very thorough about protecting our investments. The truth was more complex than Sarah was willing to admit over an open channel. For 3 decades, humanity had been playing a careful game of misdirection. While other species saw primitive cargo haulers and industrial equipment, human engineers had been perfecting technologies that made conventional warfare obsolete. The key was thinking differently. Where other species built bigger guns and thicker armor, humans had learned to manipulate the fundamental forces that held reality together. Their weapons didn't just damage, they rewrote the basic structure of matter. Their defenses didn't just absorb energy, they shifted targets into parallel dimensions where the attack simply never occurred. Admiral Krex was learning this lesson the hard way. His massive battle fleet, pride of the Vorthak Empire, was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that shouldn't exist. Worse, his own weapons seemed incapable of causing meaningful damage to the human vessels. Sir, the Vorthak communications officer's voice cracked with panic. We're receiving surrender demands from the human commander. Surrender demands. Krex's mandibles clicked in disbelief. From them. The main screen flickered to life, showing Captain Torres on the bridge of his cruiser. Behind him, displays showed the tactical situation from the human perspective. 300 Vorthak ships surrounded and being systematically destroyed by a force they couldn't effectively fight. Admiral Krex, Torres said, his voice carrying the same quiet authority that Sarah had used. I'm offering you one chance to withdraw your fleet before we're forced to demonstrate the full extent of our capabilities. Krex snarled at the screen. You think your tricks frighten me, human. The Vorthak Empire has conquered 17 worlds. We do not yield to mining equipment and cargo haulers. Torres nodded sadly. I was hoping you'd be more reasonable. Dr. Chen said you probably wouldn't be. but I had to try. He turned to his tactical officer. Activate the Cascade Protocol. What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the Kepler demonstration. The human fleet, moving with inhuman precision, began targeting specific systems on the Vorthak ships. Not to destroy them, but to demonstrate a level of technological superiority that bordered on the incomprehensible. Vorthak weapons systems shut down as their molecular structure was rewritten at the quantum level. Life support systems continued functioning, but artificial gravity failed on dozens of ships simultaneously. Most terrifying of all, the flagship Bone Crusher found its main computer core replaced with a message written in perfect Vorthak script. You have been defeated by mining equipment and cargo haulers. The psychological impact was devastating. The Vorthak warriors, raised on stories of glorious battle and honorable death, found themselves completely helpless against an enemy that could rewrite reality itself. They couldn't fight what they couldn't understand, and they couldn't understand technology that operated on principles their science had never discovered. Within 2 hours, the Vorthak Third Fleet was dead in space, not destroyed, powerless. Every ship hung motionless in the void, their crews alive, but their vessels reduced to elaborate coffins drifting through the cosmos. Sarah's voice broadcast across all frequencies, reaching not just the Vorthak fleet, but monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. Her tone remained calm, almost conversational, but her words carried the weight of absolute authority. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking for the human colonies in the Kepler system. Admiral Krex, your fleet is now under our protection. Your weapons are offline, your engines are disabled, and your life support is operating at our discretion. Your crews are unharmed, but they are also completely dependent on our goodwill for survival. She paused, letting the implications sink in across the galaxy. Every species monitoring the conflict would understand the message. Humanity was not as helpless as they appeared. We offer you the same choice we offered at the Nexus station, Sarah continued. Partnership, cooperation, and mutual benefit. Or you can continue to believe that strength comes only from violence and aggression. The choice, as always, is yours. Admiral Krex sat in his command chair, staring at displays that showed his once mighty fleet reduced to floating scrap. His pride warred with his growing understanding of just how completely he had underestimated the humans. They hadn't just defeated him, they had made his entire military philosophy irrelevant. How? He whispered into his communication array. How did we not know? Sarah's image appeared on his screen one final time, and for the first time, she was smiling. Because you saw what you expected to see, Admiral. Quiet, peaceful humans going about their mining operations. You never asked what we were mining, or why we needed such sophisticated equipment to extract simple ores. The truth was elegant in its simplicity. The human colonies hadn't just been mining rare elements, they had been harvesting exotic matter and quantum fluctuations that existed only in the dangerous regions near black holes and neutron stars. The industrial equipment the Vorthak had dismissed was actually some of the most advanced technology in the galaxy, capable of manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe. Your intelligence networks are very good, Sarah continued, but they're designed to identify conventional threats. Warships, weapons, military installations. They're not equipped to recognize that a mining laser capable of cutting through crystallized neutronium might also make an excellent weapon, or that quantum computers powerful enough to predict stellar collapse could also coordinate a perfect military campaign. The implications rippled across the galaxy as the recording of Sarah's words spread from system to system. Humanity had been hiding in plain sight, their true capabilities camouflaged as peaceful industrial development. Every human colony, every mining operation, every research station was potentially a military asset beyond the comprehension of conventional warfare. On the Nexus station, the remaining delegates watched the recordings in stunned silence. Ambassador Zeal was the first to speak, her melodious voice tinged with something that might have been awe. They were never weak, she whispered. They were just quiet. Within days, Diplomatic communications flooded human space. Trade agreements, defense pacts, and offers of cooperation poured in from species that had previously ignored Earth's representatives. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about assumptions and underestimation. But perhaps the most important message came from Admiral Krex himself, transmitted from his powerless flagship as human rescue vessels began restoring his fleet's basic functions. Dr. Chen, his voice carried none of its former arrogance. The Vorthik Empire formally requests partnership discussions. Sarah's response was broadcast across the galaxy, ensuring that every species would understand the new reality. Partnership has always been available, Admiral. Welcome to the conversation. The quiet humans had spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same.